This, Mr. President, is a remarkable record. Far better than anything we have ever known. The bass goes on. The bass goes on. The bass goes on. The bass goes on. Acid party. Acid party. Acid party. Today, every week, acid party, even more frequently.
I'd heard of acid house before I left Sheffield. I think I'd even taken an E at the Leadenhall once, but it didn't really seem to do anything. But it wasn't until I got to London that, you know, it was at the time when it was all still illegal and people would just hire some weird place around the M25 and ship people out. And then, you know, we got let into this aircraft hangar and there was just like all these podiums and people dancing, lasers going off. You could see a big wheel through this massive open doorway at the back. And, you know, I was already 25 by this time and I thought my kind of youth culture days were coming to an end. I was just kind of going out of curiosity, really. But then I was really quite blown away by it.
Let's have a party. Cool party. Acid party. Never mind the politics. I am not prepared to limit our legitimate freedom to party. To party. To party. Legitimate freedom to party. We must persist in the determination that we have shown hitherto.
You felt that it was great, but behind the scenes, you know, the mess was building.
So what happened?
Well, we put so much work into, you know, Major Chance, who disappeared off the Virgin and were never seen again. Crush and Funky Worm just basically imploded. You know, we had hit singles, we didn't have hit albums. We didn't have a band that became an internationally successful band. And until you had bands as opposed to records, this was all going to be a house built on sand. And ultimately, Sheffield, Manchester, you know, you look at the Happy Mondays, the Smiths, James, Simply Red, you know, the list of big internationally known bands. And in Sheffield, there wasn't really that. We've had the bands, you know, going back to those original ABC, Human League, Def Leppard, but there was never that wave. We never had the equivalent Manchester wave. Because I think in a lot of ways the level of creativity in what was going on in Sheffield more than matched Manchester, and I think ironically a lot of things happened in Sheffield well before Manchester. But Manchester, I mean, people have said this, you know, and I think it may be true. Manchester had a lot of things going for it, but one thing it really had going for it was Tony Wilson. They had a mouthpiece who was well connected with the media, who didn't mind speaking out on behalf of Manchester, and I'm certainly no Tony Wilson. Amric possibly might have been a bit of a Tony Wilson, but he kind of got distracted and went to London. And there was no figurehead like that.
Sheffield's always suffered from not having, you know, your kind of Tony Wilson figure or somebody like that, just to pin things together and hold people together and keep people, you know, vaguely moving in the same direction.
The feeling.
Yeah, we're going up again. This is our live music now. And this is our stimulus every single day. It's up to us to make God happen now. Not then, but now. God now, in your face.
Acid house, house music, whatever you want to call it, happened at the right time for NOS. So they could incorporate that. They could kind of feed off this sort of ecstasy vibe without anybody having to take ecstasy.
Time's been hard and people becoming a bit adrift and wanting to belong to something. I think that's a natural human need, and that church kind of fulfilled that.
This church was actually full of some of
probably Sheffield's most creative people. A lot of the talent that could have possibly helped to move things on in Sheffield was lost, in a sense.
There's a beauty about our beings. We're a people of grace.
I remember one day, round at Mark's, one of the other lads there was this conversation going on about one of them had no money. And I sort of asked a few questions, and it worked out that basically all the money that everyone earned was put into a big kitty, and you basically were let to take out what you needed basically to pay your rent and your food, and not much for pleasure, and the rest of it went into the kitty to keep Chris in a big house.
The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work. Before his deeds of old, I was appointed from eternity. From the beginning, before the world began, when there were no oceans, I was given birth.
He got money out of all sorts of people. I mean, people who'd had that rocky path, coming to his church, their parents say, "Oh, I'm glad you're away from that bad stuff you were doing." Their parents, like saying, "We will remortgage our houses to give you money for that church." And that's what he was doing to people. He was like making money left, right and centre, and at the same time fucking people's spirituality, mind and body.
I wish it never happened in Sheffield. You know, I hated the guy for what he did, and I always will, and he spoiled things. Not good.